I want to welcome everyone here to the 2017 CCF Gathering. Very much about a theme about collaboration, and I can tell you've already been collaborating by the buzz and the chat in the room. So on to the business of today. As I said, the theme is collaboration. And I thought we could have just a quick couple of minutes where you say hello to your neighbor who you may not have already talked to before, perhaps somebody behind you or in front of you, and just ask them why they've come today and think about how you might be able to help each other to achieve what you're wanting to achieve in terms of people to meet or experiences to share. So a couple of minutes on that, and off you go. So that's fantastic, and I think that's a great, fantastic start to the day. Obviously, you're ready to talk and share experiences with each other. And I did want to talk a little bit about who is here today. We do have over 100 representatives of the currently funded CCF projects, and that will include those who've benefited from the ERDF funds, the European Regional Development Fund, that's geared towards the circular economy and waste and recycling. So hands up of those who are from the current projects, representatives, so you know who each other are, and those that have some of, if you know, that ERDF money towards your waste project. Now they are scattered around. And we also have stakeholders here today, partner organizations that are either working with you or interested in your work. Any stakeholder groups can put their hands up. And those who are not in the room we have some that are participating via a live stream of the sessions that are here in this room, the plenary sessions. So hopefully we'll be hearing from them during the Q&A after the snapshot sessions and in the afternoon. I just wanted to give a few highlights of the year from the Climate Challenge Fund. In 2017-18, nearly £10 million was allocated to projects, and that includes this ERDF funding for circular economy projects, which is, an amazing amount of investment in communities and taking action on climate change. There's also been a big effort this last year to put in place new initiatives that would strengthen the community. So instead of being sort of a scattergun approach of individual projects, it's joining up the dots and making you more than the sum of the parts. So for example, there's now a stakeholder working group that helps with alignment on high-level government priorities, so stakeholders know how they can work with you to support their own objectives. There's a grant recipients working group where the projects are able to give direct feedback and act as a sounding board for the CCF staff. There's now a peer-to-peer resource library, so you can more easily access resources from other groups and perhaps apply them to your own project. And there's a new mentoring program where projects are volunteering, putting themselves forward to be a mentor for other projects that are just starting out. So you can find out more about that on the website, or please ask any of the CCF staff here today for more information. So please do make the most of your day, finding out about those resources, going to the stalls, chatting with your colleagues that are all delegates today. Share your own experiences, share that learning. Also, I know you do some tweeting. There's hashtag CCF Gathering 17 or hashtag CCF Community. Make it active, get people out there knowing what's happening. And as I said, any questions, please approach any of the purple badge CCF staff, and they're here to help. Our keynote speaker, who is Roseanna Cunningham, Cabinet Secretary for the Environment, Climate Change and Land Reform, and I'd add a big fan of the Climate Challenge Fund. She's here to speak to us. Thank you.
Thanks very much, and I am sorry I'm late. Struggling through Edinburgh traffic is making life notoriously difficult for just about everybody at the moment, but it did give me the opportunity to see some of that presentation, which I wouldn't otherwise have had the opportunity to listen to. So it's a great pleasure to be back again at the 10th Annual Climate Challenge Fund Gathering. The CCF is certainly going from strength to strength, and I was really delighted to approve the continuation of the fund earlier this year. While tackling climate change is obviously the aim of each and every project, the positive community benefits are also hugely important, and I think that came out just in what we've heard. Community action on climate change is a key part of Scotland's journey to a low-carbon society. Now, I understand last night was the inaugural awards ceremony for CCF projects, so many congratulations to all those who were nominated. All of the projects demonstrated a very clear impact in their category, and particularly congratulations to the winners: Tayport Community Garden, Edinburgh and Lothian's Regional Equality Council, Tweedle Youth Action, Shrub and Homes. They were all extremely well deserved, and I'm sure there were many difficult decisions made by the judges. Just to pick a few projects out of such an outstanding bunch, you should all be very proud. I'd also like to thank everyone who got involved and supported Climate Week in September. That's an excellent opportunity to reach out more widely than you may have done before. It's a chance to involve local businesses and public bodies and engage with them on climate issues. I was pleased to see so many people taking part. I want to talk to you today about the efforts this government is making both at home and abroad to tackle climate change and make the best of the opportunities emerging from those efforts. I'm also going to take a look at the achievements of the Climate Challenge Fund itself. Now, Scotland truly is a global leader on climate change. We have some of the toughest targets in the world, and we're making strong progress against them. We met our last 2 annual targets and are well on track to meet our current 2020 reduction target. And Scotland's high ambition on climate change is widely recognised. Lord Debon, Chair of the Committee on Climate Change, that's the UK Committee on Climate Change, said in September that Scotland's ambition is amongst the highest in the world. Scotland continues to outperform the UK as a whole and also continues to punch well above its weight in international efforts. Out of the EU 15, only Sweden and Finland have managed greater reductions. And I'm looking very closely at how Sweden does it, because it's a little bit sneaky. They buy international carbon credits and we don't in Scotland. So I'm actually going to argue that we should be ahead of Sweden and not behind them. So it's an interesting conversation I might be having when I get to Bonn in a couple of weeks' time. So it's something I think that everybody should be very proud of. You've all played a part in this success, each and every one of you. However, we can't be complacent, and we've got proposals for a new climate change bill, which will keep us at the forefront of international ambition. We've consulted on a 90% reduction target for 2050, a direct response to the high ambition needed for the Paris Climate Agreement. We're extremely grateful for all the responses we received to the consultation, almost 20,000. So I'm sure many of you here must have gotten involved in that. And the responses are currently being analysed and considered. The final climate change plan that comes out of the 2009 legislation will be published in February 2018, detailing how we're going to deliver our targets to 2032. It will be strengthened by the bold new low-carbon commitments set out in the programme for government. I hope you all had a chance to look at what was in the programme for government. The programme for government, the climate change plan, together with the energy strategy and the new climate change bill, together demonstrate this government's commitment, and we will deliver a low-carbon transition for Scotland which promotes social inclusion and sustainable growth. So what does it all mean for communities? Well, communities are central to this government's commitment to tackling climate change and embedding action throughout every sector. This is not a battle that we can win simply by government action. No government is in the position to be able to do that. This battle can only be won when it's effectively signing up everybody, including individuals. And that's an important message that communities can help get out there. We're making big changes in transport. phasing out the need for new petrol and diesel and cars and vans by 2032, committing to a record level of investment in active travel. We'll also continue to roll out Scotland's energy efficiency programme, increasing investment in energy efficiency and heat decarbonisation. And that's particularly important because we can't allow people to be left behind in all of this. The energy efficiency programme is extremely important in the face of dealing with fuel poverty. Fuel poverty is a huge issue in a country like Scotland. I know that many CCF groups are already active in these areas, and with over half of adults in Scotland seeing climate change as an immediate urgent problem, now is a key time to engage, because we'd be kidding ourselves if we thought that half of adults in Scotland were actually doing anything in respect of climate change. And that's the thing that we've got to get into. So you have an essential role in the successful delivery of the policies, raising awareness and getting people on board. And one of the breakout sessions here today is on the climate change plan, and we're keen to hear from you on how communities can contribute to making a success of the policies and proposals in that plan. Another breakout session will demonstrate the climate conversations, a great resource to get people talking about the issue of climate change in a community setting. And of course, the important thing about that is for people to be thinking about what they can do individually. I hope you take the chance to engage and to get involved. The CCF is an excellent example of communities stepping up to the challenge and delivering action on the ground. And while it's great there's so much going on at home, we also need to continue to be an active member of the international community. Scotland has attended every UN climate summit since 2010, and we've committed to playing our part in the ambitious Paris Agreement. I'm looking forward to attending next week's UN Climate Summit, COP23, in Bonn, along with the First Minister, and I'll be proud to relate Scotland's very strong messages on climate action, including how our domestic efforts, like the CCF, are contributing to our international commitments. And these international climate talks are the cornerstone of our commitment to global action on climate change. The conversations that take place in Bonn, the same as those that took place in Morocco last year, are incredibly important for information sharing, for understanding what is going on in other countries, for setting ourselves in terms of how we're performing in respect of other countries' performance as well, for working out if somebody else has solved a problem that we don't need to turn ourselves inside out, reinventing an answer to. That's really important. And it's sometimes forgotten that we can spend inordinate amounts of effort trying to solve a very particular problem we have if we put blinkers on and not realise that there are other people having to deal with the same issue. And it's really important to have these conversations to make sure that we're not missing a trick somewhere else. We should be proud of our international partnerships and nurture them. They encourage us to look outwards and inspire us to work harder. And you know, one very important partnership is with the European Union. We're very pleased that a number of projects in this round are being funded jointly by the Scottish Government and the European Regional Development Fund. But, you all know the but in all of that. So I'm not going to go down that particular road, but I'll just leave it sitting there like a little black cloud. Scotland is at the forefront of international collaboration. Earlier this year, the First Minister signed a cooperation agreement with the Californian Governor Jerry Brown to support his Under 2 coalition. The coalition is made up of almost 200 progressive states and cities covering over 1.2 billion people, 16% of the global population, almost 40% of the global economy. And Californians will be one of the groups of people that are particularly interested in talking to in Bonn. We're also building on the successes of the CCF by establishing our new climate challenge programme, Malawi, which was inspired by the CCF and will work in a similar way. The climate change disproportionately affects the world's most vulnerable people, who have often, in fact, usually, done the least to cause the problem in the first place. The Climate Challenge Programme Malawi and our new Climate Justice Innovation Fund aim to tackle this injustice. The Climate Challenge Fund's reach has been incredible, and I would like to thank you for your efforts to empower your communities to become more resilient in the face of a changing climate. Maybe in a few years' time, you'll be twinning yourself with Climate Challenge Fund projects in Malawi, and that would be great because that would be part of that learning experience as well, where each is able to learn from each other where solutions might lie. Intervention is needed at all levels: individual, household, community, infrastructure. As I said, there was no single player in this that's going to solve the problem on their own. Yet the projects you all deliver do have a key role to play. Communities truly are the heart and soul of Scotland. And I've been lucky enough to visit a number of community projects funded by the CCF this year and see firsthand the range of benefits they provide, not just for the people involved, but also for the wider community. And it's great fun, actually, visiting CCF projects, because what's fantastic is the enormous amount of enthusiasm that tends to circulate around them. If I could bottle that enthusiasm and then sell it in some other places where we could do with a little bit more enthusiasm, I think Scotland would be even better and more vibrant than it already is. So what have I visited? Well, a few of the ones I visited: Shrub, for example, at Edinburgh University, that won an award last night. They're running a swap shop, bike repair, circular economy, craft activities. I remember having a great chat when I visited them. It was fantastic. I was actually able to give them some tips. And that's just a function of being the age I am. So anybody else who's my generation will know that some of the stuff that's being talked about would once upon a time just have been taken for granted and is having to be relearned. And one can't always assume that people know some of the stuff that we always did. And in case you're wondering what kind of thing I'm talking about, does anybody else here still turn their sheets sides to middle to keep them going? I'm seeing a few nods, but not as many, and there's a lot of people going, what the hell is she talking about? Okay? Right. Go and ask somebody with slightly greyer hair, and they'll tell you it was an absolute standard thing in just about every household up until maybe about 30, 40 years ago. And then we stopped doing it. We started chucking things out. But ask about it, and you'll find out that actually it's a very simple thing to extend the life of bed linen and not be chucking things out to landfill or whatever. So that's the kind of thing that talking to each other does deliver. I was at Lamb Stables in Glasgow. Community growing, active travel activities in North Glasgow, in a part of the world that benefits enormously from all of the activity around that kind of community effort. Really interesting and vibrant project in an area where there is, considerable poverty and a lot of social challenges. So adding value, not just about climate change, but also about social cohesion, which is very important. New Start Highland Inverness, I was there in August. The reuse hub and reusing household items, training and employment opportunities, supporting low-income and disadvantaged people moving into a new home. Incredibly important there. And I was at the, I can't quite remember the name of it, in the High Street in Dingwall shop that has been developed in the new way that some charity shops are now being developed that are fantastic, almost like mini department stores. A wonderful example of what can be done. So carbon, as well as carbon savings, as I'm indicating, projects are delivering multiple benefits, and I don't think we want to minimise that either. Climate change might be the key indicator, the key target, the reason for your existence. But, you're changing behaviour and attitude. This is about community education as well. You're improving skills and often employability. There's community cohesion coming out of this. Health and well-being and community development. All of these things from some simple, small projects, not getting vast amounts of money. I know you do get grants, but they're not always huge grants. But what's being delivered for that, I think, is almost immeasurable, which of course is one of the issues that we're always being asked. How do you account for what the outcomes are? Well, some of it is almost impossible to measure, but my goodness, you would know if you took it away. And that's an important thing to think about. So there's a huge broad range of projects focusing on different issues. It's really good to see that, and that reflects the government's ambition to tackle climate change in every sector. There's almost no sector that there isn't a climate change issue involved. From community gardens, cycling workshops, to home energy visits. Obviously, the CCF really does cover almost every aspect of Scottish life, even if some of them haven't spotted sheet sides to middle yet. Since the CCF was launched in 2008, the Scottish Government has made 986 awards, totalling £85.8 million to 622 communities, which does tell you that some communities are getting more than one award. So if you're not one of those communities getting more than one award, you want to get yourself hustled out there to see if you can do some repeat funding. So each of these 622 communities has made a difference. That means each one of you here in this room has made a difference. Grassroots action is successful because it's uniquely tailored to the situation you're in. The investment of the CCF is empowering and equipping communities to deliver solutions to local issues on their own terms. Yet just because it's small scale doesn't mean it has a small impact. And the theme running through what I'm saying is that the power of communities shouldn't be underestimated. And we do need all of you. So keep delivering projects that have clear environmental and community outcomes and a clear legacy. The legacy of the CCF is a population that cares about its environment, cares about its communities. It's made up of individuals who know that their seemingly small steps are part of a much bigger national and international journey. Old Scots has a phrase for it. Money a mickle, max a muckle. That's what you're doing. That's how you're knitting it all together across Scotland. So now I'd like to take the opportunity just to thank a number of people. I want to extend my sincere thanks to members of the independent CCF Grants panel, who are the ones that have to make the very tough decisions about which projects to recommend for funding. That's never easy. I met with the panel earlier this year and I know how seriously they take these decisions. So a very special thanks to Elizabeth for her role in chairing that panel and for chairing today's event. I'd also like to thank the staff at Keep Scotland Beautiful for all their effort and hard work and for organising today's conference. And finally, a huge thank you to all of the CCF projects here today. I hope you all recognise the great achievements that have been made and congratulate yourselves on your hard work. The action you take as part of the CCF is a vital part of Scotland's efforts to reduce emissions, raise awareness, and become more resilient to climate change. Your projects are finding innovative, inclusive ways to tackle climate change and make a positive difference in your communities. I can't commend you enough. And as far as I know, Scotland is the only place where this is happening. And that's another issue that I will raise when I'm in Bonn as an example of what perhaps could be rolled out by other countries as well. So it's been a pleasure to be here with you today, albeit a little late, even if only for a short time as well. The programme for the rest of the day looks excellent. I hope you all enjoy it. I can see the determination and enthusiasm in the room. It gives me a lot of confidence for the future. Good luck with all your current projects. Keep doing what you're doing. The power lies in our hands, and it's amazing to see you all stepping up to that challenge. We do need to embrace our collective responsibility. We need to keep leading, keep inspiring, keep taking those steps towards a greener, fairer future for Scotland, but also for the world. Thank you very much.